Hey guys, after reading comments on some of my Oz10 videos, there's some great advice in there, and because I'm the only one that's probably read all the comments, I thought I'd put together the best of it and share it in a video. So here is your Oz10 tips. Starting at the back here, XX Steve says, I've got the RX5 but interested to know more about the crab spreader pole. Would the spreader pole not go on the underside of the fly like the awning ones? And I thought about it, and the only reason I had it on the outside in my first Oz10 video was just out of convenience setting it up. Obviously it is much better underneath because you're supporting the entire fly, the material of the fly, not just pushing it at either edge. So from then on, I've put the spreader pole on the underside, and that's worked much better. The other thing with the fly that I want to talk about is from Quick Flicks Yak Adventures. Hey mate, have followed your vids and well done to the family. I would suggest 600mm Oki straps for the 3 rear fly guy ropes. Easy to unhook and adjust the rear window flap. Well done again. So have a look what I've done here. I'm just going to tilt the camera and then I'll have a zoom in a sec. I've got 3 Oki straps. These cost me the best part of, I think they were $4.20 each at Bunnings. Orange to match the other stuff if that matters to you. But this is much better because you can access the window. You know, you can just move the Oki straps, but you can also climb under there and unhook them and climb under much easier as well. So I highly recommend Oki straps for the rear fly. I've got to say too that using the Oki straps instead of ropes, I've got the neatest, most taut fly that I've had so far. So often I find it hard where to position the things, and by the time you tie it down, you've got some really big creases in it because it's not evenly spread out. But with these, I've got a really nice, even fly, and I've pulled it right back off the tent. So with that awning bar underneath and using these, you know, I've got this much clearance between the fly and the tent, a really nice insulative layer. So yeah, if you look at the pegs that are holding down the rear of the tent, I'm probably another 600, 700mm past that, peg that down and then put the Oki straps in. Frank McDonald asked, is it possible to leave the fly attached permanently? And Rowdy said, yes, you can leave it attached. I haven't checked this personally with the drifter bag that I've got for the Oz10. I'll do that when I get home and I'll report back. Fly's just zipped on. Let's see if it folds up and goes in the bag. Timber! Hand away. Timber! What happened? Well, everything went in the bag all right. The fly itself doesn't take up much room, doesn't take up much volume, so it makes sense that it does fit in the bag. You've just got to be careful. You don't want to have clips or carabiners or D-shackles or anything attached to your ropes. That might rub and cause an issue with the canvas. And I reckon you don't want to put too much pressure on it in case you're pulling at the zip and you might damage or break the zip eventually. But if you're careful, I reckon you can do it. I'm not sure if you've got the original bag, whether this is something that Oz10 recommends you do. So I'll put that in the comments if I find out whether they recommend you one way or another to do it. I think I'm going to keep them separated for the most part, just so I know what bits I've got to grab, and that's how I've always done it. And it's just a bit easier to get into the bag and less risk of stuff going wrong. And it's not hard to zip it on each time. It's a 30-second job with 2 people, so no big deal. But it is a good idea. Rowdy also said, another tip for packing the tent into the bag is instead of picking the tent up and trying to stuff the tent into the bag, is pick the bag up, place it over the tent, and then flip the bag up. And it makes life a lot easier. So this one, I'll test out when I pack up the tent in a couple of days' time.
I'm watching you. I'm watching you. But Dad, how's I'm gonna fit in the boat? Well, how's I'm gonna fit in the boat?
It goes on the roof.
What?
Yeah, we put it on the roof. Do you want to go on the roof too?
No.
much of a muchness, I think. I really couldn't tell much difference. So you've probably got a preference, but yeah, either or. When I get home, I've changed how I clean it. So in my first Oztemp video, I went about cleaning it a certain way, and a few people have gave me the tip that to clean/dry the bottom when packing up, whilst the tent is still up, flip it onto the door side. The frame is flat and allows you to dry out the bottom. So thanks very much, Greg. And this was affirmed by Andrew Carr. Thanks, Andrew. Easy to dry the underside, get it home, pop it up in 30 seconds and just flip it over onto the front face. Just remember to peg it down. So I really do recommend pegging it down once you get home and you're drying the front, because for some reason or another it just seems to be a wind sail when it's sitting on the ground like that. So even in fairly moderate, low to moderate winds, I've had the tent almost like take off on me. So definitely peg it down. But yeah, in my first video was probably the hard way to do it. Set it up, drop it onto the front, and then you can just access and clean the side. That's the way to go. Michael Dallimore, a close friend of the channel, writes, "May I mention that in rain, the front spreader bar should be placed on the outside of the tent and use the center point attachment to pull down in front of the tent slightly to allow water runoff. I discovered this the hard way in a storm when the front section of the peak roof filled with water. Good videos, thanks." Thank you, Michael. We copped some heavy rain earlier this week, and I got pooling on the other side of the peak, so between the top of the peak and the door, and every now and then a bucket came down of water down the side of the awning. So water management, getting everything nice and taut is super important, and Michael's got a great idea here, and I assume that's why Oztent have gone and put that loop there, that center attachment, so that we can do things like this. So they must know that this is a good way for water management. Let me show you what Michael means. So the idea is all the water is going to slope down into the middle and drain off the front center, and that's a really good way to manage your water. You could even collect water here if you wanted with a bucket. Much better than getting pools of water on the thing which come crashing down on you when you don't want it to. I have 2 large dogs, so I made the improvement of lining the entire tent floor with foam gym tiles. So that's obviously to protect the bucket floor from puncturing, the PVC, but there's other benefits to having those sorts of things too. So I bought these ones are from Bunnings. They cost about $11. They're just EVA foam tiles, and you know, this is a spot we used because we can dust it off easy, take our shoes on and off, and just adds a bit of comfort getting in and out of the tent. You could also put them on the inside of the tent, maybe just a set of 4 squares across the entryway, long ways across the tent. So then you've got kind of a soft, comfortable place to put your shoes and still easily brushable and cleanable. So yeah, these are excellent. The ones you get from camping stores like BCF and Anaconda, they're much bigger, kind of, you know, a good 50% of the size bigger, but these ones from Bunnings are a bit smaller. These have their place camping. If you put your actual mattress under these as well, you get a nice insulative effect. So you kind of add a bit of comfort and add some, and stop the cold coming up through the ground to your back. So definitely some value in having these. I mentioned in my first Oztent video that I use an S-binder to connect the 3 entrance zippers at night time as a security deterrent. So if someone tries to open the tent from the outside, they'll realize they can't get in easily, and then hopefully that'll be the end of it. Connell is Great Adventure, thanks mate, says, "We stick a fishing bell on and around our zips overnight. I do a lot of fishing and very tuned to the noise." Not knowing much about fishing bells, I went and bought some cat bells, some pet bells for collars, and I've attached 3 of them onto an S-binder. So that's now the S-binder we use inside the tent each night to attach to the zips. On top of that, I've added a cat bell on the internal zip at the front there. Sorry, the internal one, the vertical one, and one on both of the bottom zips. So all in all, 6 cat bells are going to be jingling if anyone's trying to get in and out of the tent. So my son Heath, he loves to play with them, so there's a bit of a battle there. But all in all, if someone's getting up in the middle of the night, I like to know who in the family is gone so I can keep tabs until they get back. So if it's my wife, or if, you know, my wife's going with one of the kids, or whatever the reason is to go out, it's also good to sort of alarm everyone that people are coming and going, to take stock of who's in and out of the tent. At the end of the day, anyone with a knife can probably get in the side of a tent very, very easily. That's the risk we take with camping, but we can mitigate the risk slightly by doing things like this, which don't take a lot of effort. So hopefully it stops someone that's being opportune in their crime. When talking about the front panel and the side panels, I showed that I had trouble with the zipper closing right to the bottom, and the zip kept riding up slowly. Silver Fox Bullion, or Bull Iron, said, to your zip issue, there's C-clips at each zip on elastic bands. You will know the ones I mean, as you've probably looked at them and said, what the heck are those, LOL. What you do is attach them to pegs, one at each door. That stops the zip from moving up. I normally go to eyelets in the floor saver. I had no idea what they were until I emailed Oztent one day and they explained they were to stop the zip riding up, etc. They work well in closing the zip gap and also closing the gap in the vinyl section. To show what Silver Fox is saying, on one side of the door you've got this loop, and on the other side of the door you've got an elastic loop with a C-clip, and on the fly screen, on the mesh, you've also got the same elastic loop with the C-clip. So all those can come down to the same peg, and so regardless of whether you're opening the canvas zip or the fly zip, it's all going to come to the same point, and it's going to be pegged to a central spot. All the way to the bottom. Not so much advice, but a guy, Dave Vibe W, has commented on the videos and said, I'm putting a wood stove, or even if it was a gas stove under the awning here. He's using the Winterwell stove. So hard to fathom right now with the beach towels and this time of year. But if you're using the Oztent as a base camp for hunting or fishing or something, and you're going to be set up for a little while in winter, why not have a zoned area where you've got kind of seating, and then the wood heater, you can cook on it as well, and then heat up the tent at the same time. It's a pretty cool concept. Not something that I'm personally interested in, but I thought I'd share that with you. If you Google something like Oztent stove jack or Oztent winter setup, there's a few good videos on YouTube showing that sort of thing. But yeah, let me know if you've done something creative with your Oztent. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you've got something out of this. Ask me any questions, and happy camping. Here's your bonus tip. Be sure to close your fly mesh zip when you enter and exit the tent, so you don't have to sleep next to a 2 meter long goanna. Be sure to subscribe. See ya.